President Trump is becoming more lawless amid a power grab at the Justice Department and a recount in Florida. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Trump has always seen the law not as a constraint on his power, but as a tool to protect and enrich himself. Today, for example, he attacked Democrats for saying they'll investigate him now that they control the House, tweeting the prospect of presidential harassment by the Dems is causing the stock market big headaches. And last week he said that if Democrats in the House use their power to investigate him, he'll just turn around and investigate them.
Are you offering an my way or highway scenario to the Democrats? You're saying that if they start investigating you, that you can play that game and investigate them.
Better than them.
Can you compartmentalize that?
And I think I know more than they know.
No. No, you don't. Trump's like a Gotham City gangster who thinks he can outsmart Batman and ends up dangling from a gargoyle. Bad news, Batman. I also have a utility belt. Oh, son of a bitch! Oh, I'm upside down again. Oh, that backfired. Grifters always think they can outsmart everyone else, and that's what Trump is, a grifter who surrounds himself with other grifters. Right now, as we speak, Trump is being sued in federal court for defrauding investors. He just appointed an acting attorney general who advised a firm accused of scamming customers, and his candidate for Senate in Florida, the state's governor, was involved in one of the largest Medicare frauds in American history.
President Trump, 3 of his adult children, and their company are now facing a new lawsuit over allegedly conning consumers in a, quote, systematic fraud and pattern of racketeering.
Matt Whitaker, the now acting attorney general after Jeff Sessions was fired, he is now linked to a company referred to as a scam.
Rick Scott earned his fortune in healthcare administration. He served as the CEO of the Columbia Hospital Corporation. Scott resigned in 1997 amid a fraud scandal encompassing Medicare, Medicaid, and other federal programs.
Man, if these guys weren't in politics, they'd be selling fake Rolexes on the sidewalk in Times Square. Of course it's a real Rolex. The extra X is for extreme. Trump's entire career has been built on scamming people. In fact, even in the closing weeks of the presidential campaign, Trump was personally involved in a scheme to break campaign finance law by paying hush money to hide his alleged affairs, as we learned on Friday.
The Wall Street Journal reporting federal prosecutors have evidence that Donald Trump played a central role in paying off women during the 2016 campaign who claimed they had affairs with him.
The Wall Street Journal reporting that during the 2016 campaign, Donald Trump closely coordinated with American Media Inc. chairman David Pecker to silence 2 women who claimed they had affairs with Trump.
You know, there's a lot that's hard to believe about the Trump era, but one thing I will never get over is the fact that the president asked a friend to help him cover up an affair with a Playboy model, and that friend's last name was literally Pecker. It's like the worst screenplay in a freshman creative writing class. I need a name for the guy who covers up the sex stuff. Oh, I know. I'll call him Rex Penis. So prosecutors now have evidence that Trump personally violated election law during a presidential campaign, which makes it pretty convenient that he just installed an acting attorney general, Matt Whitaker, who is very much a Trump loyalist. And much like Trump, Whitaker also has a history with fraud.
Whitaker later joined the advisory board and was first paid in October 2014 for a company that has since been shut down and slapped with a $26 million fine by federal authorities. World Patent Marketing billed itself as helping investors secure patents, and Whitaker was hands-on.
It's a unique design that's going to help.
Showcasing a hot tub invention in this post from the company.
That's right. The new Attorney General of the United States was involved in a scam selling hot tubs. Not only does this administration keep adding grifters, the scams keep getting worse. Our next Secretary of State is going to be a guy who forges signatures on baseballs. So, how did Trump pick this guy? Well, Whitaker basically auditioned for the role by going on TV and criticizing the Russia investigation. In fact, at one point, Whitaker, who now oversees the Russia investigation, said the infamous meeting Donald Trump Jr. had with the Russians at Trump Tower in 2016, totally fine.
If you have somebody that you trust that is saying you need to meet with this individual because they have information about your opponent, you would take that meeting. You certainly want to have any advantage, any legal advantage you can, and one of those main advantages is to know what your opponent is either, I mean, all sorts of things that could be happening. Hillary Clinton, there was so much smoke around her.
There was smoke around her. Trump has so much smoke around him, he looks like he's been hanging out on Willie Nelson's tour bus. So on Friday, reporters asked Trump if he had picked Whitaker because he saw him on TV attacking the Russia investigation, and Trump made it sound like he'd never even met the guy.
What do you see all the criticism of Matt Whitaker and Paul Smith, Well, Matt Whitaker, I don't know Matt Whitaker.
So there you go. Trump says there's no conflict of interest because he doesn't know Matt Whitaker. And if Trump says something, then you know he also said the exact opposite.
In the Washington Post this morning, it says that you talked to the Attorney General's chief of staff about replacing the Attorney General. Apparently, according to the Post, you talked to Matthew Whitaker. Anything to that story?
Well, I never talk about that, but I can tell you Matt Whitaker's a great guy. I mean, I know Matt Whitaker.
Of course he knows him. If anyone looks like they should be friends with Trump, it's poor man's Telly Savalas over here. And on top of everything else, Whitaker's appointment itself might be illegal. Whitaker wasn't next in line at the Justice Department, and he's never been confirmed by the Senate. Last week, two prominent lawyers wrote an op-ed arguing that Whitaker's appointment was unconstitutional. And one of those lawyers has a personal connection to the White House.
Kellyanne Conway's own husband, George Conway, a self-described conservative, co-authored an op-ed in the New York Times, calling Whitaker's appointment as acting AG unconstitutional, illegal, and invalid.
That's right. One of the authors of the op-ed was George Conway, the husband of White House counselor Kellyanne Conway. And this isn't even the first time he's criticized Trump in public. What's that marriage like? Honey, could you pass the chicken? There is no chicken. I'm looking right at the chicken. That's not chicken. That's alternative meatloaf. Trump was asked... Trump was asked on Friday about George Conway's criticism, and he decided to attack the husband of one of his closest advisors.
Is Kellyanne's husband wrong? Who? Kellyanne's husband wrote that. You mean Mr. Kellyanne Conway? Why don't you ask Kellyanne that question, all right? All right. She might know him better than me. I really don't know the guy.
Okay, so he definitely knows the guy. But Trump, of course, is no expert in marriage. In fact, after that talk with reporters, Trump started to walk away to get on his helicopter and forgot that he left his wife standing by herself off camera.
I'll see you in Europe. See you.
No, that's the polite way to do it. You take a big bendy arc. In olden times, that was considered chivalrous. Goodbye, everybody, goodbye.
I mean, at least he went back for her. Melania 1, Umbrella 0. It's obvious that Trump wants Whitaker to rein in the Russia probe and the special counsel Robert Mueller, but when he was asked about Mueller on Friday, Trump claimed he wasn't even thinking about it.
I haven't ruled out anything. I haven't even thought about it. I'm thinking about the world.
The world? Globalist. You should be thinking about America first. Of course there is. There is one other thing on Trump's mind, and that's the recount in Florida, where the GOP candidates for governor and Senate, Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott, are narrowly leading. After Election Day, officials were still counting mail ballots and provisional ballots, which is totally normal and happens in every election. But Trump and Scott have been lying and spreading baseless conspiracy theories about non-existent voter fraud.
Every Floridian should be concerned there may be rampant fraud happening in Palm Beach and Broward counties.
Any evidence of Wait, well, you take a look at the past. Take a look at the past. And all of a sudden, they're finding votes? You mean after the election, they're finding votes?
Yeah, that's when you find votes, after people cast them.
I planted seeds in my garden, and 2 weeks later, I'm finding flowers. Fraud.
And then today, Trump tweeted that the vote counting should just stop because his candidates are ahead.
The Florida election should be called in favor of Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis, and that large numbers of new ballots showed up out of nowhere, and many ballots are missing or forged. An honest vote count is no longer possible. Ballots massively infected must go with election night.
Hey, man, you don't get to just stop counting the votes because you're ahead. Trump's like a guy who starts a game of horse, scores one basket, and says, actually, we were playing, so I win. I win. I'm the winner. Trump was then asked if he had any evidence that there was fraud happening in Florida, and since there is no evidence, he had no answer.
You notice the votes never go the other way? They hire lawyers, and the votes don't ever seem to go the Republican way. Although I hear, well, I don't know, you tell me.
All right, we'll tell you no. You don't have evidence of fraud in Florida. In fact, I'd be shocked if you even knew which state Florida was. If you asked him to describe it, he'd probably say it's the one that's shaped like a
pecker.
So Trump doesn't have any evidence of voter fraud, but don't worry, he's putting his best people on it.
As soon as Democrats sent their best election-stealing lawyer, Mark Elias, to Broward County, they miraculously started finding Democrat votes. Don't worry, Florida. I am sending much better lawyers to expose the fraud.
Oh, you're going to send your lawyers to look at ballots? Like this guy? I'm not sure he's your best bet. I mean, look at it. He looks like he just got kicked in the
pecker.
So we have to get our pecker jokes in now while we can. The guys lying about non-existent voter fraud are the ones who have committed actual fraud. A grifter president put a grifter in charge of the Justice Department and is trying to get another grifter elected to the Senate. But like the grifter he is, Trump always abandons the people who serve him. Whether it's Attorney General, his personal fixer, or even someone as close to him, like his own
pecker.
This has been a closer look.